In this video, we'll go over the importance of activity photos for your listings and easy technical tips for better photography. So photos are truly the most important storyteller on your activity listing. And recently we've started to gather very important data regarding the clicks and the views of photos on our website. And as you see in these screenshots, these are heat maps. On the left, this is on desktop, and on the right, this is on mobile. But as you see, 30 to 41% of users who visit the site and visit these pages will click on the photos. They want to see the full carousel. They want to see multiple angles. They want really to understand from a visual perspective what you're offering. And we know this is true not only from this data, but if you look at the world around us, YouTube and Instagram are the two top social media platforms, and there's no secret why. Obviously, it's because people love to watch videos, they love to look at pictures, and for pictures, they can really tell a story. They can bring people closer. For us and our activities, they can make somebody excited about a class. I have two kids, and my 4-year-old daughter loves to shop for classes with me, and so she will sit beside me, and because she can't read, she'll just look at the pictures, and that's how she decides what types of online classes or things that she wants to take. And so I think it's really important that not only does your storytelling of pictures convey what materials you're going to use, but also helps somebody who's more visual, who probably can't even read, understand what they can expect as well. So with that in mind, before you get started with taking your photos or editing your photos, I like to do a very quick assessment. So before I take photos, I usually ask myself, what materials do I have to work with? And most of the time, I usually just use my phone, because we know the power of the smartphone has really evolved over the past years, and now we can take amazing quality photos and video just using our cell phones. So I make sure my camera is charged. I usually look for a clean backdrop. If I'm taking photos of an item like a product or a project, or even if I'm going to take a photo of my kids, I want that thing to be the focus of my photo. So clean backdrops, sometimes I use poster board or a clean tabletop. These things will really help elevate, and ease the process of taking the picture. For activities specifically, we think about who our participants are, and they're usually kids. So, are my kids ready to take the photos? Have I prepped them and told them, I'm going to take your photo. I would like you to show me your work, things like that. And then I usually assess the space. And this is mainly due to lighting. So if I'm in an indoor space, I usually try to make sure, I'm kind of near a window to make sure that there's some adequate lighting, but not too bright. Or if I'm in an outdoor space, that it's clear, that it's not, too shadowy, things like that. And then for editing photos, if I'm done taking the photos, or if, I'm not going to do that portion, I usually ask myself, what is my skill and time capability? So in terms of skill, there are a lot of free platforms that can very efficiently, minimize the time that you spend editing. Nobody has to use like super ultra sophisticated software. Thankfully, what we're demoing today, Canva, is a really revolutionary platform. And I love it because it takes, design in mind and then makes it accessible to everybody. But if you are, not skilled, or if you don't have time, a really great option for your videos and for your photos is to outsource. So I like Fiverr, which is a really great platform, or FreeUp. And you can kind of browse designers and freelancers to see who's available, what their expertise is. If you need, quick photo or video edited to make, a 30-second video, this is something that you could put up on Fiverr and people can bid on it, or you can find somebody you like according to their price range and just hire them on the spot. And so, there are lots of options and tools that you can use in regard to your own capability, because obviously we understand that time is money and your time is precious and you want to spend it wisely. So after I kind of assess these things, I'm ready to take my photos. So, and these are some quick technical tips that I use as a rule of thumb when I take my photos. First is that I always set the stage. So in setting the stage, it's thinking about, my end product is going to need to look good on a very small screen. As I showed you in our heat map slide, over 40% of visitors on the site are looking at your photo on a mobile device, which is pretty small. So you want your main focus of your photo to be, right there, to be up close, to, show some detail to help immerse the viewer in what your photo experience is. Second, uncluttered backdrops will really help draw your users towards that product or the people featured. And then third, when I say frame your photos at your subject's level, I'll show you a small diagram on the next slide regarding this. But this is a common thing I think a lot of people don't think about when they take their photos, especially if you're taking photos of kids doing an activity. You usually just whip out your phone and take a quick shot. But by changing your posture a little bit, by getting down to their level, it really changes the way the photo is captured. And then second in my list of tips is thinking about lighting your scene. So I suggest that you, as much as possible, try to use indirect or soft lighting. So in my photos on the right, you can see this is my little backyard setup that I use to take pictures of some crafts that my kids have been doing. So the big picture, it was cloudy outside yesterday, and I was able to just, go out into the middle of the yard with my box and my poster board. So very cheap setup, nothing fancy, and I used my phone. On super sunny days, I usually, I'm kind of in the patio area, so there's not a lot of direct sunlight. But as you see, there's still a lot of kind of ambient light, so that when I do take my photo with my phone, it is well lit. I like to be low to the ground because I like to take photos from up top. It's very easy to frame something, especially if you're gonna take a photo of a worksheet, or a craft or some materials that you're using for your project. It's an easy angle, and so then you don't have to be, stand on top of a chair or do anything of that sort. And then lastly, for taking photos, I think it's very important to remember to stabilize your shot. And you don't have to have a tripod in order to do this. And I'll show you in our next slide how I usually do it. But, you can use books or heavy objects to lean on. For example, here's how I do it. And I usually stabilize my photos by just putting my elbows on the table. So on the left, you see me trying to take photos of my kids and of some kids doing this craft project. And this is that scenario where, they're busy doing it, the activity, I'm really excited, I want to take a photo. Typically, you'll just take your phone out and take a quick photo. But as you see, I'm pretty far away. And so this is the picture that comes out. I have so much in the background, all this wasted space in my photo. if you see the little girl in the middle is probably not in focus. And so later on, if I'm using this particular photo in my activity, I'll have to crop it, and then I'll realize it's blurry, and that takes away time and effort that I've spent. So instead of doing this, I take a moment to think about, okay, if I can get up close and stabilize my shot, then I can end up with a really great photo. So here I am, I bend over, I usually bend my knees, try to get close to the kids. And so I can frame, what they're doing, maybe get them to look at me, look at the camera. And as you see here, this is an unedited photo that I took of my niece who's making this craft. And it's much more stable. Everything in the picture is clear. I probably won't have to edit it or do very, very minimal editing when I upload it to my activity. But it really starts to tell a story versus this one where we know that kids are doing something. But if I were to look at this on mobile, I wouldn't know exactly what they're doing. Maybe they're playing, maybe they're making something, I'm not sure. Obviously, they're in a kitchen or something. Like I'm distracted by all the different things that are happening in the photo on the left. But in the photo we've produced on the right, just by bending down, taking it close up, I'm able to capture this moment, and that makes it feel, more personal. It makes it feel like I'm there. You can obviously see she's painting something and she's happy. So it really starts to build this idea of visual storytelling. So technical tips for editing photos. After I've taken my photos, I'll demo how to do this in Canva, but you can use many different types of basic editing platforms to edit your photos. And I even sometimes just do some of these things on my phone because our phones are so powerful. But to keep in mind, I think the most important thing to understand about editing is that it takes time. If you are able to take a few moments to remember tips to take a better photo, it will save you so much more time versus, snapping a bunch of photos and then thinking you're going to edit them afterwards. So I would encourage you to think about using editing tools only if necessary in order to enhance your photo. In part 2, I'll be using activity photo case studies to demo technical editing tips using Canva.